All right, today we're taking a tour of one of the most amazing, most efficient places in the entire universe. And you won't believe it, but it's totally microscopic. We're going to wrap our heads around the living cell by imagining it as this super busy, bustling factory. So you might want to grab a hard hat and let's dive in. So let's just kick things off with a question. What on earth could a giant, state-of-the-art factory possibly have in common with something like, the very tip of your finger? I mean, they seem like they're from completely different worlds, don't they? Well, believe it or not, the tip of your finger and actually your whole body is jam-packed with trillions of these tiny living factories. We just happen to call them cells. And honestly, every single one is a little masterpiece of production and engineering. Okay, before we actually start our tour, every visitor needs a map, right? So this is our blueprint. It lines up all the parts of our factory with their counterparts inside a cell. We're going to meet the manager, pop by the power plant, see the workers on the line, check in with the security team, and even take a peek at a special solar panel upgrade. Just keep this little guide in mind as we go through each station. All right, our first stop is the most important office in the whole building, the command center. This is where the big boss hangs out, the one who's calling all the shots. So let's go meet the factory's manager, the nucleus. So the nucleus is basically the factory manager. It's the brain of the whole operation. And it doesn't just sit back with its feet up. Oh no, it's actively directing every single thing that happens. Why? Because it holds the factory's most precious asset, the master blueprints, which you probably know as DNA. And when I say it has control, I mean it has total control. From deciding what the factory is going to make, to when it's time to grow and expand, to even when it's time to shut everything down, every single big decision is made right here. Absolutely nothing happens in this factory unless the nucleus says so. Okay, so the manager has given us the thumbs up to continue our tour. But for any actual work to get done, this factory needs power. And I mean a lot of it. So our next stop is the power plant, which is run by the mitochondria. You know, every factory needs electricity to keep the machines running, and the cell is no different. The mitochondria, they're the powerhouses. They're working nonstop, burning fuel to churn out energy and keep the lights on 24/7. Seriously, without these guys, the entire factory would just grind to a halt in seconds. And we're not just talking about some simple generators here. These things are unbelievably efficient. They take in raw fuel, the food we eat, and they convert it into this high-energy molecule called ATP. The best way to think about ATP is like the factory's official currency. It's the cash that every single department needs to get its job done. With the lights on and the orders fresh from the manager's office, it is time to head down to the factory floor. This is where the real action happens, where things are actually built. Welcome to the assembly line, which is staffed by the hardest workers in the cell, the ribosomes. So if the nucleus is the manager, then the ribosomes, they are the workers. They're tiny, yeah, but there are tons of them, and they have one single job: to build stuff. Specifically, they build proteins, which are the essential building blocks for pretty much everything inside the cell. And this is where you can really see the factory's chain of command in action. The ribosomes don't just make whatever they feel like. Nope. They get their work orders sent down directly from the nucleus, and they follow those instructions perfectly, every single time. They're the skilled laborers turning the manager's blueprints into reality. Okay, our factory is buzzing, making all sorts of products. But how does it protect itself from the outside world? And how does it get raw materials in and ship all its finished goods out? Well, for that, we have to go to the factory's border, the security and shipping department, also known as the cell membrane. I want you to think of the cell membrane as a super advanced security gate and a bustling shipping dock all rolled into one. It wraps around the entire factory, forming a barrier between the organized world inside and the chaotic world outside. But it's not just a wall, it's a really, really smart barrier. Its job is basically twofold. First, security. It's the bouncer that keeps all the unwanted stuff out. And second, logistics. It carefully manages all the incoming shipments, like fuel and raw materials, and all the outgoing shipments, like waste and finished products. It is the ultimate gatekeeper, making sure everything on the factory floor stays stable and productive. And now, for a special part of the tour. The factory we've been looking at so far, that's pretty much an animal cell, like the ones in you and me. But some factories, they have this incredible, high-tech green energy upgrade.
It's a special feature that you'll only find in plant cells.
Let me introduce you to the chloroplasts. Now, if the mitochondria are like the factory's standard power plant, think of chloroplasts as these super sleek, advanced solar panels installed on the roof. They have an amazing ability that our cells just don't. They can make their own fuel using nothing but sunlight.
This whole process is called photosynthesis, and it makes these plant cell factories remarkably self-sufficient. They don't need to import all of their fuel from the outside. They can just make their own, using a totally clean, abundant, and renewable source of power. It's just a brilliant evolutionary upgrade.
And that pretty much wraps up our grand tour of the cell factory. We've met the boss, we've seen the power plant, we've watched the workers on the assembly line. Pretty cool, right? So, the real question is, how well were you paying attention? Let's find out with a super quick quiz.
First one up, the power plant. In our factory, what is its main job? What's its #1 role? Go on, take a second to think about it.
All right, next up, how about the manager? We met this very important person right at the start of our tour. What is the manager's main job in our cell factory?
And the answers are the power plant is all about energy production, and the manager is the control center. So how'd you do? I bet you totally nailed it. It's amazing how a simple little analogy can just make these complicated ideas click, isn't it?
So here's the big idea, the main takeaway from all this. A cell isn't just a random bag of parts floating around. No way. It's a perfectly tuned system. Just like a well-run factory, every single piece has a very specific, very important job to do. And they all work together in perfect harmony to achieve one ultimate goal, to create and to sustain life itself.
And that just leaves us with one final thing to think about. Right now, as you're sitting here, trillions of these incredible little factories are humming away inside of you, working nonstop. They're following their blueprints, they're generating energy, they're building. So the only question left to ask is, with all that amazing energy and all that production going on inside you, what are you going to build?